You know, um, there was a time um, that I wasn't really understanding why I was doing research. I was buying into, and you probably see a ton of this. I was buying in to the sort of performance idea that is baked into research that if you simply do everything right, then, people will like you. Um, that sort of logic that um, simply just publish everything and things will change. You simply just follow the same route, the metrics that everybody gives you, and you're following the sort of productivity metrics. Um, and for a long time, um, I was feeling deeply hollow because of it. Because I thought, like, if you simply just impress upon other people, that uh, you make other people impressed with you, that they're gonna like you. But it wasn't until a few years ago. So I started this project. It was the Reciprocity Project, and it was to build this platform um, to help us out as researchers create non-rejectable research papers and grants. That's the ultimate goal. And make it so it's easier and it's fun, encouraging. We can sort of meet people. The when I began it, I had that logic in my mind. It was like, oh, I simply just have to show people this, and they're all gonna love me and love the product. And the hard reality hit, and I built it, spent a whole bunch of money. Hard reality hit, and nobody liked the damn thing, and it was just crickets. And there was this hard reality, and not to mention there was other things that were going on. Um, in my work life. I don't necessarily want to talk about it that much, but things that just hit me where I was like, "What the hell am I doing here?" Um, this was like I'm spending all this time and effort, and there's nothing to show for it. And it was like this deep void for a long time. Probably 10 years of a deep void where I just couldn't get over it, of like, this was not me. This wasn't my thing. But in the last few years, there's a couple of things have really transformed in my life. Um, First of all, it's this deep acceptance, like just real deep acceptance of that you're alone. Right? And I know that sounds really miserable to accept, but, like, there's no people that are gonna come up and you sort of rescue you. Um, nobody's coming to the rescue, like, that sort of story. And it was this acceptance of that that began to get me to realize I don't need any of those people, right? Like, those people are not gonna be the ones that are gonna, stand up and help anyways, right? So, they're they don't need to be part of my life, right? They would have stood up, um, and they would have, helped out in various different ways. And so that's where you have to get over that, right? You have to realize that people are deeply self-centered, and you have to get over that sort of self-interest of it. And then that's where it began me to reflect on why am I actually, how did I get here? And I know that's like this typical um, sort of crisis, I guess, that you go through. But it was reflecting on, um, my family's journey and understanding that it wasn't like any individual, right? But all of my family, uh, extended family had an extraordinarily rough time. It was very difficult, right? Like my dad's Polish immigrant, um, you know, escaped before all of the, just before 1935. He was born in Canada in 38, I believe. But his parents, they all left in 35. Um, Lost all of, we lost our whole, um, I don't know any extended, I have no family on that side that we know of that are, very few people that we know of that exist, right? Like that whole part of the family is kind of gone. They came from so my dad's family had a big family, and they weren't that close after because it was just really harsh conditions. Living in northern Ontario. Um, and then, my mom's side, and besides all the people in Poland, I think that they kept in touch with like an aunt, but now that's all gone, right? Like all of my family is gone, on that side. And then on my mom's side, um, my grandma was an immigrant. So we really didn't have a sense. Nobody talked about it. We didn't have a good sense of them. Or my grandma was an orphan, sorry. We didn't have a good sense of where they came from, who they were about. All of that is lost to history. And I reflect on what it means to be in this privileged position right now where I can tell my story. And another profound thing that I've been thinking about, and you can watch one of the videos online where I talk about this, is, coming to terms with my grandpa was a World War II vet, and he clearly had PTSD after and couldn't really hold a job and just essentially drank and smoked his whole life. Um, and I think about that as like, I'm a generation away from having such a crazy life that is debilitating. And then on top of it, these young kids were going over and fighting so I can actually do my job without, I can encourage people, right? Like I can go, and if there's somebody else that's going through this sort of suppression at this time, then I can encourage them and say, just one more day, right? Like be that voice. And it's deeply, profoundly changed who I am inside because now I understand that I have a purpose, that all of what I'm doing, the whole reciprocity project, has nothing to do with me. It really doesn't. It has everything to do with my grandparents, has everything to do with making my mom and my dad, who were, such a stable force that despite the fact, and they're, my extended family had a lot of things going on, and I don't want to say too much about that, but a lot of things going on. But my parents had the fortitude to be extraordinarily stable with the best that they could possibly do, right? Like to make sure that our life was stable despite like chaos happening. Um, I mean, I am just deeply I have like strong emotions about it now. The reason that I I have this deep purpose that other people need to, um, that I'm doing this for a reason because I am that quintessential person, that really didn't grow up with anything. Um, and now I get to study things that most people are afraid to study, and there's culture right now where people are pushing back on some of the things that I wish I could study. Um, but to know that I could be a voice and change, the whole reciprocity project is to create a platform so it's easier and more motivating and encouraging for researchers to get up and do this at any stage. And so that means, like, if there is a high school student that, they're feeling like, I can't study this thing or I can't go in this direction, that they're going to find a resource that allows them to do that and get encouragement to do it. And man, it's just very profound to me when I think about this and how fortunate I am to do that, given growing up. And I don't think it could be anybody else that would ever do this, because most people probably wouldn't have had such a hard upbringing in like extended family. And um, I think a lot of people are privileged, and it was up to me. And I know it sounds like a little bit of a God complex, but trust me, it's not. It was just like at the right time. And like, who the hell else is gonna do this? And then growing, realizing later on in life that, I had, you know, learning difficult, basically learning disability. And I've been struggling with this. And the only reason why I sort of struggled and pushed hard against it was because this was my ticket. Is my way to rebel. And I just think about this is like, it's just a privilege. And I hope other people listen to this. I hope my grandparents my grandkids get to listen to this and be encouraged to do hard things that are often, they feel thankless, often feel like you don't know what you're supposed to do, and just feel encouragement that it's just one more step, one more day. Keep going, even if you're in a country that doesn't want you to learn these things. Take one more step. Um, Figure out a way. I think being able to do that is often our way. And I look around the world around us with the peace and prosperity that we have that has never been seen in many, many years. It's our only way. Keep going. Keep taking the step.